Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So I'm going to start with some Simran. So if everyone can just sit up straight, the eyes closed. Waheguru, 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 the underlying topic of virtually everything at Khalsa camp is Simran, the Naam Vyas, Sanskrit Simran. That's the underlying context of, if I'm doing any lecture here, this one this afternoon, ultimately there's nothing else apart from that in Sikhi. Simran, Bani, Guru Di Mat Leke, Simran, everything else below that. So today's talk is called Life as We Know It, but it's about an important aspect of our lives, Anand Karaj. It's about Anand Karaj, and it's not just about Anand Karaj to your partner, Anand Karaj to Waheguru as well. So that's the topic we're talking about. The reason why we've currently spent about 11-12 weeks in Coventry talking about the topic of Naujwans, and not just Naujwans but Sikhs in general, Sikhi, and how it's a bit off the rails. There's varying factors for that, and I'm going to cover some of them in this lecture and talk, and some of them in the afternoon one. Now the reason why I put this one first is because I think the afternoon one about roadblocks and Sikhi flows after this, so that will follow on from this. Now one of the key aspects of when we talk, I'm going to get opportunity to talk to a lot of Gursikhs, a lot of younger children, a lot of younger Gursikhs, teenagers and older, and there's a general, so to not make this into a negative thing, I'm just telling you the reality. That's why it's called Life as We Know It, so we're giving the reality of what Sikhi is transpiring into at this stage, and it's that people are very upset. People aren't happy, they haven't got the thing that they need, their insides are hurting, you know? And that's for a lot of different reasons. But the core G's that's missing from our lives is that the main thing that is Guru's message that's missing. Now, when we talk about happiness and sorrow, everyone wants to be happy. When we talk about Anand Karaj, the topic Anand Karaj, people get married. Why do they get married? It's not just about a read thing. People want to be happy in their life. And when we evaluate happiness, happiness is, when we talk about Dukh, Sukh, Guru Sahib, in Guruji's Bani, Guruji saying Dukh, this Sukh is Ek Saman. They're both the same thing. And there's a reason why they are the same thing. And when we look at point one, the happiness and sorrow are attached to everything material. So, whatever we have in terms of whether it's a materialistic thing, whether it's a person in our life, whether it's our friend, whatever it is, happiness and sorrow are attached to that automatically. The only thing that Guruji says in Gurbani that isn't associated with sorrow is not. Is Bani. It's not associated with sorrow. Jagpal is associated with that concept. Everything else is associated, has an association of sorrow with it. So what gives us joy will give us pain. That makes us understand Sikhi a little bit better. When Guruji says, why is Guruji saying that? Because Guruji is saying, for instance, if you have a materialistic thing like a car, let's take that for example. You have a car in your life, the car when it's working makes you happy. When it breaks down, you just get sad. When we have human beings in our life, when they're in our life and they're making us happy, we're okay. When that human being does something slightly off that's not in line with what we're thinking, we get upset. Guruji is saying, if you can control that thing and stay in the middle and understand Guru's hukum, then that thing slowly stops upsetting you, no? So choosing to accept that sorrow and sadness are much a part of life as happiness and joy is a part of our well-being. When we say we want to be healthy, spiritually healthy, physically healthy, then accepting that dukh, the sukh, dono cheeja are going to come in our lives. If we can accept that, then we can be prepared for it. If I mean, I can see there's a lot of younger generation here who probably aren't married. People sometimes paint a very funny picture about marriage to people, and that all of a sudden it's going to be, oh great, and this, that, but no, there ought to be some preparation, and then there might not be some of the disappointment that happens, and some of the... I'm going to focus on divorce as well here in the lecture. It's not even a concept in Sikhi, I believe. Divorce isn't, but I'm going to cover that topic too. But some of these things lead to very, very negative outcomes in our relationships, and not just in our marriage relationships, even in sangat that break up, even when we have a sangat together, after 5 years, that sangat isn't the same. Sometimes you might start with 20 and 10 are somewhere else, and even Sikhi in general. The different problems that we have, that's going off topic, so I don't want to go there, but happy people are able to accept sadness rather than fight against it or deny it, and accept it. When we say Guru Sahib da Pana, no. A person who's spiritually successful can accept happiness with sadness and learn to deal with both of those things. And happy people feel negative emotions too. Now these are taken from studies. There's a book called Positive Psychology, it's taken from that. But if we want to understand sadness, when we say sorrow, bipat, when we say that thing that makes us upset, what is it? If we can identify that and put it in a line, a simple sentence, is unhappiness is caused by desiring something that you haven't got. That makes you unhappy. It's a simple way of putting sadness. Sadness is something that you can't have, you want it, and that's destroying you. And that could be that you haven't got X amount of paisa. It could be that a person who's in your life is close to you is gone, you can't get them back. It could be something that's not in your reach. It's anything that's not in your reach, or the bit of sadness you get unhappy from that. Now Guruji, when we go back to the topic, we talk about the baseline of everything that we do, is Simran. Naam Abhyas is Gurbani. No one can take that from you. No one can take that away from you. Why you're breathing, no one can take that from you. No? Anyone can take anything else from you if it's a materialistic, external thing. They can take anything. Now, I sometimes do quotes, but if you want to understand the meaning of happiness, you must see it as a reward and not as a goal. That's from Antoine the Son. From this literature in 1900, that if you see happiness, you're getting happiness in your life, reward. It's not you're not owed that, and then you'll appreciate it more. Whereas we set our life around wanting to be happy. That's not. It's in Sikhi. Gurbir ji says, "Sampe dekhna har ki hai, bipat dekhna roe. Jo sampe tyo bipat hai, bidne rachya so hoye." So Gurbir ji says, "Jida happiness or sadness." But he says, when you get happiness in your life, because don't start laughing and being overjoyed. So Gurbir ji is telling us how to control this. Don't get overjoyed by that thing. Gurbir ji says, don't cry then when you get something that's not in line with what you wanted as well. When what Waheguru wants to do is going to happen. So those two things, Gurbir ji is telling us how to be level-headed in those things. Now, when we ask Guruji, jaisi khushi mangte hain, we want happiness. Guruji says, where are we asking for happiness from? Happiness, where do you think we're going to get that from? Usually, asi sochte hain कि कोई materialistic thing or some person or some event in my life is going to make me happy. Now we ask Guruji, nit nit khushiyan man kare, nit nit mange sukh jiyo. करता जितना आवे फिर लगे दुख जियो सुख दुख दाता मन वसै तितता न कैसी भुख जियो. Now Guruji is asking, a human being nit nit खुशियां मांगता wants, but as the more we ask him for happy hoiye, he says unna sadness hoi jata hai, because the happiness you're asking for is a bit out of your reach. And we become more and more sad by asking for it. But Guruji says, "Karta chitna ave, fir lage dukh jiyo." As because we're forgetting Waheguru sar ke, Daat pyari visriya datar Guru ji said daat sanu pyari bahut lagdi hai, but just the giver we forget about him. Oh pyara nahi lagda. So dukh sukh data man vasai tit tan kaisi bhukh jiyo. Guruji says if he becomes to reside inside our hirda de vich vasauna, then bhukh nahi lag, there's no bhukh then, there's no hunger for anything then, because he's the creator of everything and he's in everything and he's doing everything. And if he's next to us, which is a huge part of when we talk about Suhagan in Gurbani talks about Gursikh as a Suhagan. Suhagan, the biggest gun, Sagal Guna Gun Uttamo, Parta Durna Bikri. Now Guruji says that the biggest gun of all gun for a Gursikh, like a Suhagan is, Waheguru isn't far from you. You never see Waheguru far away. Now that's a relatively hard thing to do if we don't follow the Gurmat principles. We can't just like wake up and sleep and all that and say Waheguru's next to us. It always says Jani cheese like that. So the biggest thing as a gun that we can have is that Waheguru's there. He's always there. Then your perception changes of what the dunya is. Now, Ananda Karaj. When we talk about Ananda Karaj, the reason why I'm talking about this topic is Ananda Karaj. The ceremony of Ananda Karaj, mere khayal vich main khima karni if I say something wrong, but it's not respected. Jinni cheez wo hegi hai, what that thing is not respected. So Ananda Karaj, when our Ananda Karaj happens, or your Ananda Karaj happens, or a Ananda Karaj happens, Guruji Sahib said one soul, two bodies become one soul. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm standing here, a great husband, woman, it's not that. It's a challenge. It's day to day, we have to work on that. But to become one soul, that's what Guruji says, your soul is one and your bodies are two. Ek Jyot Doi Murti. And most importantly is Gursikhs deserve each other's respect. If we're disrespectful, then both men and women are equal and your relationship should reflect that. When we talk about the star is equal for man and woman. This is all are rare. There's no rare way you can say that's specifically for a man and that's not for a woman. There isn't any rare. If you look through Gurbani, it's saying, Ishara is saying, Simran Jugti is the same. Both can be Gyani, both can do any seva. It's exactly the same. The rare is exactly the same. So when the rare is the same, then the treatment is the same. So living for Waheguru. Now at the moment, when we go through and evaluate people's lives, we've had Anand Karaj and we've Gursikh, but we don't live for Waheguru. We live for apna kam, Karaj, to get our houses, to become respected in the dunya. That's what we do. We don't live for Waheguru. And attachment, family you're going to get family from, that's going to move on into family. Or attachment that we get attached to the family, that's not what you will come here for, to become attached to that thing. It's to appreciate it, to love it, to nurture it, and to say, this is Khalsa the Forge. This family of yours is Khalsa Forge. That Khalsa Forge is going to do good for the world. Generation by generation, it'll get better and better and it'll do good for the world. That's what it's for. It's not for an attachment to it. And family, raising your family well, set a good example and ensure you teach high morals to children. And even in the relationship, knowing each other's strengths, partner's strengths, what qualities do you share, and where are you different. Sometimes you're very different. Some areas, both different in there. But that shouldn't matter, because your core, it only becomes a problem when your core is different. And our core shouldn't be different. The core should be that we're all trying to do the same thing. So this is going to go through into a book we're preparing anyway, but it's easy to get caught up in family life and lose your focus. So to keep the company of discipline seeks to ensure you stay on track. Sangat, the most important thing for everybody. Sangat is very, very important. And it's unfortunate now that even our Gurdwara systems, again, if I say something wrong, forgive me, that our Gurdwara systems don't emphasize Naam Simran. Our Gurdwara systems don't emphasize that Bani that tusi apni life sari banani hai. We make it into a simple routine system on Sundays and say how many people came in, how many players have what sort of program ho gaya. That's what we do. But the Sad Sangat, where your Atma actually gets some nourishment, that is absolutely essential. And it's essential that majority of your spiritual time is spent together, and even Nityanem and Sangat. Nityanem, sometimes we can't do Nityanem together. But Sangat, minimum we do Sangats together, no? You go to when you go into the Keertan program or Simran program, then most couples have given up doing Simran. When we, it's not to do open anyone's parda thing. When people come in Amrit Sanchar and different things like that, when Amrit Shakya, we've done it for many years. Just a basic question I'm going to ask everybody. So basic question is, how's your Amrit Vela? And you'll be shocked that there's absolutely both Virle who turn around and say, the general answer is, Hanji, Jini ka kirpa hai, only hunna ko jata hai. But you wake up now. So are you happy with that kirpa? Sounds very, very silly. So when we talk about Simran, that's gone. So your basis, our basis of our bhakti is gone from our marriage. If the basis of our bhakti is gone from our marriage kada hoya. What the same, jidan Korea da hoya, Kala da hoya, Piliya da, same as ours. So love for each other should grow day by day, and you should make a habit of apologizing. There are mistakes. Sare make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but to apologize is a habit. And usually, our culture है from Punjab, ना? And Punjabi culture थोड़ा जो है chauvinistic little bit. I'm sorry to break all these things to everybody, ना? But just and that is that if he does whatever, if Banda says, Banda doesn't have to say anything. They got that. You have to stand there and say it's wrong. Now, everybody did lama. When you have a Nankar, you're going to have a lama. And the lama are the most, this is when I talk about disrespected. Now, I've been in Gurdwara systems. I've seen marriages happen there. And I've seen even the groom and the people around him, I can't even call it Sangat, sorry, smelling of alcohol coming into the bar hall. And they've had their night before and they come in and they're still drunk. And lama, that's what's happening in the Gurdwara. No? But when we talk about Gursik, we talk about Gursik, the lama that the Gursik have. I still think there's a big problem here still, but we haven't respected. But what is that thing that I've just done? What is that ceremony? What is that karaj that I've just done? Ananda karaj. And if we have the same respect for that as our Amrit, which unfortunately we don't, it's the same thing. It's a karaj to meet Waheguru. It's the same thing. It doesn't mean one replaces the other. One is for two souls to come as one. One is to meet Waheguru through Gurmat and live your life like that, but they're both to live our lives in Gurmat. Now when we if we break down the body of Lama, from the first Lama, we just say, we make it into some basic thing. And these are the specific aspects Guruji is saying. That you should make Gurbani your religion. Bani, Brahma, Ved, Dharma, Drido, Guruji is saying. That Gurbani is now your religion. In the first Lama. Following its Dharma. So Jo Guru Sahib has told you in that Bani to follow that. That's Pehli Lama. Guruji says, Dharma, Drido, Naam Tyao. Now Guru, Japna. To give up your Pap. Pap Tajaya. Saj Anand Guruji says, but that holy that Anand, that you start enjoying what you're doing, your dharma. This isn't a just a prescriptive religion that you've got. Guruji is saying that path you start enjoying it, and then Naam becomes Mittha. When we're doing our Simran, Naam becomes Mittha. Now, if we before we even go to second Naam, we don't get past first Lama. Let's be realistic. First Lama, we don't pass that. Because when we start looking at second Lama, Maharaj talks about both different avasthana. So we've gone through that. That's our basics. That's our Sikhi Pehli Lama. Second Lama is to meet the Guru. Guru Nulna and bear, to have fear of Guruji. That's second Lama. First, Guruji's already known Guru's path through first Lama, but in the second Lama you meet him. And Guruji says, fear comes in and home goes away. And Home starts dying, and by singing Bani, you see him near. When we talked about biggest Sagal Guna Guna Uttama, Guru says, then you start seeing him near. He's nearby. See him in everything. So slowly, slowly start seeing him in everything. And this is a certain second level. This is second lama. And meeting the Jan, in other words, Gurmukhs. If in your life you've got a good solid routine or good weekly minimum routine of meeting Hari Jan and singing Keertan, then Hanji, you could say that someone ticks box, you've got something there. Generally, we haven't even got that. Right? Meeting Jan and sing, and then Guruji says, second lama which aren't how the Shabad start. I'm not going to talk about that now. Right? So, Anha the Shabad, Guruji says it in the second lama. Then when you talk about the third lama, Guruji says, then the desire to meet him becomes that vairag happens. That you want to meet him now. Where is the Waheguru? You've seen him close, you know he's in everything, now I want to meet him. That's the Tiji lama. They're meeting him through the Sangat. Guruji says, when you go into Sangat, if your Hirda is correct, it doesn't even matter if Sari Sangat might not be that thing, but you might see something. Guru says, in Sad Sangat, you'll see something. Singing Gurbani will become more powerful for you. A very fortunate person reaches this, and Hirda gets a Naam then. So Hirda, in other words, it's very deep then. Naam is ingrained. And it's only if you've got Mathe Te Pahagun that you can get to that Tiji Lam. But Chothi Lam is about Sahaj Avastha, and body and Atma merge into Waheguru, and Mitha is sweet. God is pleased. The day and night, He's remembered. Anything you wish to get, you get. Man Chindiya, man comes in your mind, you can have that. And Naam becomes Vadaiya then. It becomes the Vadaiya inside. But you congratulate it. But when you're here and you're in Dargah, it's the same thing. They're going to get congratulated when you get there as well. And Hirda blossoms then. But Hirda is full. In other words, Kamal Jarputani goes straight. And Naam is fully flowing. That's fourth Lama. Now that's Lama, we're doing that Lama. These Char Lama we're doing as an Anand Karaj. And unfortunately, when we talk through and look at our Sikhi after that Lama, we're not there. And I'm going to cover some of those things. So, look what happens. We get married. Compare what the Bibi happens to the Bibi compares something to the Banda. So, the Banda's still in his house, he gets a new wife. The Bibi has a new husband, she has a new family, she has a new house, she has a new bedroom, she has a new wardrobe, she has new friends, she has a new roof. All her life put ho gaya. Her life has gone upside down, right? It's totally different. The boy's just there going, this is my wife. Hello, this is my new wife. Show piece material. But when we look at that, that's so disrespected. When we talk about, I've spoken to many people with marriage problems, and when you talk about this basis is understood, and I'm talking about early, when the early problems, that the life is totally upside down for Kuri. She doesn't know where her feet are yet. And all of a sudden, all this expectation from everybody. Now, if we look at that concept, if I ignore, I say it's unfair on the world, but it's not unfair in the next world. Guruji is saying to us, "Etikam sikla, utikam it'll be worthwhile for you there." Guruji is saying, learn to do Simran here. When you go to your next dunya over there, because you ain't going to have any problem whatsoever. You're going to be you're going to go in running. That's what Sikhi is. Guruji is saying that concept. But unfortunately, ours is injustice concept here. That's what I'm trying to highlight. For the big, if we understand this girl, and I'll come to some of the more different bits in a minute. On a mother-in-law, Jiri dragon is so she, mother-in-law is there. Her mat is somewhere else, right? So she's got her own system that she's working to. Now the reason why I'm talking about these things is for a reason. To see, you're at Khalsa camp. You're at Khalsa camp, and if you see mistakes happening from other generations, we don't have to put people's names up on the screen about who's doing it. We don't do it, no? That we don't do it. That same person is going to, you as a wife, you're going to become a mother-in-law as well. Huh? You're going to be the same dragon. And it's not that, it's nobody's basti gani hai. It's a way, we got a way of living, we got a way of thinking. But the thing is, if we put Sangat into our brains, put Naam into our Hirda, put Bani there, things can change. We can't teach older generations new tricks, right? But we can change in terms of what we are creating. And I mean, there's a Katha television he's talking about. He said, someone asked him, he says, Thodi bache, so both her bibi, her ladki, her bachi got married, and her son got married. And he goes, Thoda kidda, how's your family now? Is it good? He goes, she goes, Kudi to bahut sukh milta hai. She goes, Munde to nahi milta. And he says, what's this? Yeah, that makes sense. Because the Kudi's married in her own house, and the Munda is not, you're not getting sukh from him. What's going on there? And she said, what she said, she goes, you know the Kudi. She said, when you go to your house, she goes, have a fight for about 5 days. She goes, you can have your own house. And she goes, but to my Munda, she goes, the girl's doing Kalis in my house, so she's doing mat to the Kuri to get separated, but she won't let her boy go. And that's double standard A here. Jira double standard A, Sadi family is Shuddh, Bahut theek ya, is very well mannered. Your family is a bunch of Padani Kithu Lande, which planet. That's what our fark is. And when we talk, I mean, Bhai Gurdas ji is the ultimate sant in the Paath. I've been stating that over and over again. When we talk about Mahapurush of this Paath and the highest personality, Bhai Gurdas ji, end of story. Mata Pita Anantvir Putte di Kurumai Hui. Now Mata Pita, this is documented. If it's in Bhai Gurdas ji's it's documented. Resi Angana Mavi Gabe Sohare Sui. So the parents are happy. They said, Bachida Mera Putra Bya Hun Lagaya, and the son Naze and Mata Ganla Pandi Buri Kushun Diya. She gets very, very, very happy, Pain Vixi Putra Bya here, Kori Lama Gav Paloi. So she sings all these Korianga and do all these different things, getting really happy. But Sukha Sukhe Mavri Put Nuda Mel Eloi. She sings all these, and she wants the well-being and harmony of the bridegroom, and mother makes vows, so she's sukha sukhi, there's all those different things, offerings. Penu nit kant kumant de, vehre hove sas vigoi, lak upkar visar ke, put kuput chakki ut choi. Now, Bhai Gurdas is saying that the bride starts teaching, ill-advising the Munda, and goading him to separate from the parents, and consequently the mother-in-law becomes sorrowful. So forgetting all the benefictions they are, she says that Put forgets all that and he becomes disloyal, and then will separate from India. Now, Gurmatawa is what else is it? We'll come to that point in a minute. Now, what Bhai Gurdas is saying is, now this doesn't mean that well, we could take this as saying that the norm is really bad. This problem, we have to avoid this problem somehow. We have to get over this problem. We have to avoid it. We have to get around it. And sometimes we can't. And I'm not trying to be idealistic, sometimes you can't. But this is, if this is Bhai Gurdas is writing this, Bhai Gurdas is Vara, Poriya, they're for us. Who else are they for? But Hove Sarvan Virla Koi. Now, Sarvan, Bhai Gurdas is saying, Sarvan Marga Koi Virla Ya. Sarvan, the Sakhi of Sarvan is, Sarvan's parents were blind. Or blind Sige. Now, this is one part I've found, but not really. What happened was, Sarvan's parents were getting older and older. He could see he's getting very upset. His parents have to do something for them, and he's getting upset. That's bothering him. Now, one day, his mother says to him, she's blind, she's eating, and she says, it's funny, swad different ayah from the khana. And they said that when he checked the food, his wife had made sona for them. She made some modern thing for his parents. Now, what he did was, he got really upset, and he said, because in their traditions, in Prathan Sakhiya, the traditions were that they have to do chali tirthante ishanan karana before they die. That was the pun karana. See, so he said, I'm going to take them now. Forget this, and took them to the he didn't have no cart, no horse, nothing. So what he did was he made 2 baskets, he made it strung them with a stick, and he carried them on his back. He was taking them to do Tirtha Deshnani, he took them to some, I think, and then what happened was, Raja Darshat is from Pradhan Sakya, from the Hindu Sakya. Because he's coming to get water, Raja Darshat shot an arrow thinking it was an animal, and he got shot and he's wounded really badly. So he started screaming, and the Raja understood, I've done something really wrong here, it's not an animal, you know? He went there and he says, I've come here to give my parents pani. And he goes, I'm dying, you know? He goes, don't tell him I'm about to die. He goes, we're not pani blood. So the Raja gave them water, and he carried them to the next leader, the Raja did, and he didn't say anything. And the parents saying, you see, they're saying, why are you talking? What's wrong? You know? He wouldn't talk because he didn't have he answered to him, I just killed your son. When he did say it to them, apparently the Sakhi is that what they, Saraf mil gaya si to Raja, the parents, Saraf they said, you know, they do sati. They said, you know, they said the funeral pie that you're going to burn our child, cremate our child on, they go, we want to be put on it as well. So that's what that Sakhi is, but by Gurdashi's saying, very rare and obedient is a son, so from that Gurmat we've gone far as well. So when we talk about Anand Karaj, this again, I'd say, is what Bhai Gurdashi has mentioned for us as our Gurmat Sikya. Now, as such, did a survey in terms of separations from there, and you know, it's very, very disappointing, very disappointing. But did a marriage breakdowns, the UK did a survey on this. Only survey of marriages, of opinions of 101 different barristers, lawyers who are handling this thing. And if you look at, I'm not going to go into too much, probably Sikh marriages are probably in this because it's UK. But if you were thinking about what's the reason why people are separating, the biggest reason is people are growing apart and they don't like each other anymore. That's the biggest reason. The second biggest reason is someone's had an extramarital affair. And if you look through these business problems, emotional, physical abuse, family strains, financial money worries, midlife crisis, stress, unreasonable behaviour, workaholism and other. You know which Gurmat Gal is there to say that we can separate. If that's what the Manmukh Dunya is doing, in terms of when we talk about Manmukh, they're separating for these reasons. For that. It means that we're doing something wrong. No? And we should be aligning to this. And I'm hoping that this can be a catalyst to some of those discussions, some changes, some counselling, some whatever we need to do from a Sikhi point of view to change these things that are happening. But if that's what's happening in UK, I don't think that the reasons for our Gursikhs getting separated is much different. The reasons won't be that much different. But I don't want to go over these divorce things in a bit. In USA, 41% marriages, America ended in divorce, blah, blah, blah. Most of the time it's 20, 25 years. But they're kind of statistics about, why things break down. And I think the key point is that if we live as Gursikhs, if we follow Gurmat, if Guru is the centre of what we do in terms of our life, our marriage, our work, everything, then that alignment brings us happiness. Everything else, we're trying to chase something wrong, some money, some financial problems, something stressing. Why are we getting stressed? Something stressing us, It's happening for a reason, is to get rid of that. Now, just as a thing, this is an interesting thing we covered in one of our classes. There's a guy called Dr. Eric Byrne in 1950s. Other theory is that a human being's got three ego states. The ego state of parent, adult or child. And when you're a parent, if I went in parent mode, if someone's in a child mode, it's like talking down to people. And then you got adult to adult, and then you got child to adult, where you got too much respect for someone. And what he's basically saying is that if you talk to someone in a certain way, depending on how they talk to you back, that's where conflict starts. We have conflicts in our relationships. they happen for a reason. It's because one person's talking down, and another one says, I'm going to talk down back. And that's where the problem happens, instead of having a level relationship. Now remember, it is talking about ego state. Now the caveat I'm going to put over this is, what does Guruji tell us about what our behaviour is? When we talk about ego states, what's our state? What's our basic state that we should be in all the time? Anji? Did someone say something? What's our basic state that we should be in? Shared, but in terms of like what we think of ourselves, humility. So ours is nimarta. Nimarta is beyond lower than all the states. But if there's nimarta from one to another person with nimarta to another person with nimarta, then there can't be any issue there. Because one person is saying lower, 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 I'm lower, I'm lower. And it reminds us of the Sakhi about when Guru Sahib says, I want to test this gun, and the father and son says, no me, and he says, no it's me. He says, no it's me. Because they're happy to die. And so when we look at our Gurmat examples as well, they are going low, about being low. About being Bhai Gurdashi said, a Gursik who does seva. Gursik seva is that Jadu Sasang Ariya, the Gursik seva is that to feed the Sangat first. If there's anything left, he has it, he doesn't. That means that he said, I'm lower than anybody. Jodiyani seva, what's it for? When we talked about it, when we did the ego talk before, when we talked about the fateh, when we say Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki fateh, where's me in any of that? It says Waheguru is Khalsa and my fateh is to Waheguru, and everything we do and we win is to Waheguru. So where's the me in that? So the original point of doing Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa was that person becomes low. But maybe that might be slowly going away, you know? So when we talk about this, I'm going to quickly get to the. If the lines cross, there's going to be conflict. Now let me give you an example. If someone comes home and says, "Why haven't you done this?" That's not the way for two individuals to be speaking to each other. If the other person in front says, "Oh yeah, I'm very very sorry, it won't happen again," then there ain't going to be a problem. If the other person says, "Don't talk to me like that," who are you to see? Then you've got a cross, because that person's gone parent to child, the other person's gone parent. That's the basic concept. Is that once you get that crossover, you start having fun. And it's preventing that and having mutual respect for each other. And remember, now when we talk about parental respect, that's not there really either. When we talk about respect to our parents, that's not there either. That shouldn't be adult to adult, right? That still should be an element of talking from underneath, an element of that. But it isn't, it's like still adult to adult there. So it's something you can read up about, transactional analysis, but that's one of the reasons. If you want to break it down and say, why was there a fight? Why did you have an argument? Why was there a problem? It's because why is it crossway, and it's the mutual respect's gone. And usually, I mean, if someone makes a mistake, that's different. If someone's made a mistake, and sometimes that forgiveness is very, very hard to forgive that person for making a mistake. So someone's done a serious mistake, for instance, from a Sikhi mistake. Sometimes their issues as well. You have to get over those. And that's about, when we talk about forgiveness, forgiveness is another aspect of it. Now this is I'm almost done. So when we look at other factors, when we talk about marriage, where is Sangat in our marriage? Is Sangat the key part of our marriage? Just a key question. Fine, if someone says, okay, I go once a month to a Rance by Tika, but that really, Bhai Gurdashi was asking a little bit more from Gursik than that. No? So we say, where's Sangat in our marriage? When we say Namabhyas in marriage, is that in our marriage at all? When you say giving in your marriage, Dena, Hatun deke pala manai Bhai Gurdashi kere pe Hatun deke Gursik pala manai, that's my birthday part. Where's our giving in our marriage? What do we give to? And if you're not married, take the word marriage off and change it to Sikhi. So where's Sangat in your Sikhi? Where's Naam in your Sikhi? Where is giving in your Sikhi? When we talk about remembering death, where's death in our Sikhi? Remembering that big, we have to. When the bird comes, it's on a migration, it comes and sits on the tree for one night, and it says, this ain't my tree, I'm not staying here, I've got to carry on. A ghostik's exactly the same. We come here, this is our tree, we're sitting on it for one day, and then we've got to go. Where's remembering death in our marriage or in our Sikhi? Where's gratitude? Now gratitude, both massive topic in Gurmat. In other words, the Guru, if we actually respect what Waheguru's given us, all of a sudden, even massive problems become very small. A huge problem, you can make it very small by just having gratitude for what you have. If I say I've got health, that gives me a certain amount of gratitude. If I say Guruji's giving me Simran this morning, and he gave me Nithanim this morning, if he says I've got blessing to see Sangat today, that gives me a certain amount of gratitude. You know? If he says today I didn't do anything Mariji that would upset Guruji, I should have gratitude towards that. Then these little things about, oh, this ain't done or that ain't done and all that ain't done, it's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter that much because the gratitude's gone and the little things start becoming big. When we have gratitude, that even the big things can become very small. So where's virtue in our marriage? When we say we did Amrit 10 years we'll get, 20 years we'll get, are we any different? Apart from Zibana Palaya and we didn't, are we any different? Is our Simran more? Is our Namavyas nicer now? Are we enjoying it? You know, have we changed? Has my outward perspective changed? Is my respect to other people and my interaction with people, has that changed? So, and then if we talk about the other side of it, why is there argument in our marriage? Why is there hate in our marriage? And why is there stress? These aren't talked about. They're not in Gurbani in terms of that's what we should have. Why is there desire? Desire for something, some grass greener somewhere else, is it? In your marriage? Why is there instability of our mind in our marriage? Or in our Sikhi, remember? And why is Waheguru far? Why is he far away? When we say Sare Guna Nalo highest Guna, that he's right next to us. And to understand that and be that and live that. Why are those things happening? So when we evaluate our Sikhi, we have to properly evaluate it. And I'm going to move on to that topic in this afternoon's thing about evaluating what we are, about who we are, where we are. But that was the marriage part. So when we conclude this, I think some questions arise. First is, how are we going to live respectfully in our life? Whether that be our Sikhi life or marriage life. How are we going to live a respectful? And I want to say respectful. Guruji says, it's not Lokachar or someone else looking at you and saying, wow, what a great person. It's Waheguru and Guru looking at you and saying, this is a nice person. It's not about Logan ki Chatarai Ukmata Basantar Ja. That what their Chataraiya are not interested in what people have got to say. You're going to give your body to Waheguru, no? So how are you going to live a respectful life where it's actually regarded as respectful? And remember in Gurbani, it talks very much about next stage of our life or maut, and we go to the next dunya. There is a way of getting respect there, and there's a way of getting absolutely annihilated there. So we seem to have led ourselves to a divorce culture. There are no divorce culture in Sikhi shouldn't be there. No, there isn't anything. I remember the Gosik Rayat Maryada, I think even that was slightly amended, but even the Rayat Maryada, this HTPC Pantakon, the Maryada says generally if a person's married and separated, they shouldn't get remarried. It says it as a general statement in it there. But that's in the Pantak Rayat Maryada. No? So there are complications in our marriage foundations that are making marriages more challenging. They need to be addressed. We need to be thinking about those from a Panthik level, from a group level, from a Khalsa camp level, whatever it is. Marriage is hard work. Like any relationship, friendship, anything like that. If you want friendship to last, friendship's hard work. Marriage is hard work. Relationship with the Guru, as we'll talk about this afternoon, relationship with the Guru is hard work. To keep that at a healthy level, So marriage is hard work, it takes effort, but in reality it's shaping us to become a good one. So when we have pain, we have problems, everyone has problems. What's that become? If I take that problem and just take it on myself and stress myself out and give up my nityaneem and give up everything, people do this as well. Give up their simran. Oh, didn't do simran for 3 months, didn't do nityaneem for 2 weeks. Why was that? I was stressed. The stress is not an excuse for not following Guru's mat. So why are we ending up in that state? It's for a reason. It's because there's certain things that we're foundation-wise we're breaking. And happiness is really in your relationship with Guru. So your partner is an interface to that relationship as well. So you probably hear this as well, where a person will say, well, I'm not really married to you, I'm married to Waheguru. That's not really true. Waheguru is in everything. Guruji's given us a relationship, says you are now the God that has happened now. After which you're trying to find the goodness in both of yourself, and that's hard sometimes, but sometimes it's rewarding as well. So happiness is really in your relationship with the Guru. That's where you're going to get truly khush from. But if you read Gurbani, Guruji's saying, you meet a Gursikh, Guruji's described a Gursikh and one Guru as jida you have a cow and you have a calf. You see a calf, usually the cow's right next to it because it's protecting it. Guruji describes Sikhi like that. When you see a Gursikh, the Guru is there as well. It's right next to it. It's right next to the Gursikh. And that's how the same it's how Gursikhi marriage this is. So if your partner's there, there's Sikhi, the Guru's there as well. So it's happiness, finding happiness in that. So that's concludes my what I wanted to say. Where I started was that as changing generation, the next generation, everybody, we need to step up and change how we're thinking. We need to move into what Guruji wanted us to become, and we have to get closer to that. Guru's Bani is absolutely the most beautiful thing. I can't do lecture on Guru's Bani. When you read, you can't lecture on that thing. There's something very strange about it. That thing, when you go into it, it's a fascinating thing. And whichever angle you take, you can find an angle to go into it. It's kind of like very open. For instance, I've done different things on, if you want to find out, am I puppy, you can go and look that way. You can find out what Guruji says about different things about, what is my Gumak? What is a Gurmukh? What is Simran? Why do I need to do Simran? What's going to happen when I die? What's a wasteful life? Any angle you want to take it from, you'll find things from it. And that it's essential that if you're going to take something away from this, is get really close to that. The word of Guru and the mat that Guru's given us, which is to do Simran and to remember him all the time. Get closer to that from this, and hopefully, if that's in a marriage or a sangat or a friendship situation, it will make that into a totally different thing, perhaps, that you might not have experienced before. ठीक है जी? वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा।